And the game just concluded, and unfortunately, the Seahawks just could not come up with a victory. So that means the Seahawks are now fallen to 3-2. And much of it was because Geno Smith had several opportunities. I think he had like 4 consecutive drives to even score or even at least force a field goal, but it didn't happen. And what a disaster of a game it was. At least in the first half, it looked really good. But other than that, the offense just completely fell flat. And the last time they scored a touchdown was like, it wasn't even in the PMs yet. So Seahawks lose. They fall to 3-2. Bengals are now back at, I think they're at 3-3 now. And let's just go over this. Like highlights of the game, the Seahawks defense in the second half was just absolutely amazing. Tyler Lockett made some really big receptions. And C-Films, do you have any thoughts, any positives out of this game?
Yes. So I think our defense, like I see it even for fantasy numbers, our defense always does really well. Our defense had an interception. It did what it needed to do. It kept, like, if you look at the second half of that game, the actual Bengals only scored 3 points. And that was kind of something I noticed where it's like we really kept them to a low score. And I think the other thing was that like our receivers, they were doing their jobs, but it's just like, that I think those are the positive is like we have offense and we have actual like defense in our team and stuff like that. I think that's where we are. I think we just need to become a little bit more complete with the whole package. But
Yeah,
I think overall we're doing right.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are the positive takeaways. We can agree that defense in the second half was absolutely amazing.
Yes.
And then Tyler Lockett played very well. Even DK Metcalf stepped up, even though he had a miscommunication that caused the Geno Smith interceptions. Now, of course, we're going to go to the negatives. Of course, I'm going to call dibs on this one. Geno Smith was absolutely atrocious in the second half. He threw 2 interceptions, and I will say both of them were absolutely preventable. He had open guys when he tried to throw it to our rookie number 11, but he threw it into complete double coverage. He could have at least done a short pass on that one, but it didn't happen. And then in the second interception, it seemed that there was a miscommunication between him and DK Metcalf. And granted, DK Metcalf was frustrated throughout the entire game because he wasn't getting much of the receptions until late in the second half. And then completely Geno Smith absolutely blew it with 4 blown drives in a row where the Seahawks defense really did busted their asses off and still came up with nothing. And yeah, the offensive line was not great either, but when you're the quarterback, you still have to find ways to get it done. You can't just be the guy to just blame it on everything else. It is your call. And we'll say Geno Smith was the downfall of this game. And C-Films, what are your thoughts?
So I get why you're talking about Geno Smith. And Geno Smith didn't complete passes to certain people at crucial times in the game. But could you also blame Pete Carroll for the decisions he made? Like one of the things is we had a chance. We're on 4th down. We could have kicked it was 4 minutes left in the game. He could have kicked a field goal. We could have then the next drive kicked another field goal, won the game. Would have been better if we just copped out and kicked field goals instead of actually trying to go for the touchdowns.
Yeah, so I guess that's something. Yeah, that's something that was a little bit cute. Where, yeah, because the concern was they thought the Bengals offense was going to break at some point, so they decided to be at least worst case scenario be in that own territory. But yeah, had they done the field goal, all they would have had to do was just get in the field goal range, and would have been less pressure on Geno Smith. So I do like your points there, where it's not always on Geno Smith, especially when you're playing a better defense against the Bengals. But I'm still going to say it, like. Even then, there were drives before that where he still had opportunities. So it's a team game, so you got to put it on basically everyone, with the exception of that defense. The defense was excellent in the second half. But when you have your quarterback, he's expected to win those kind of games. Like no matter how difficult it is, no matter how difficult the pass protection is for Geno Smith, he still has to figure it out. Do those little dump passes, or could have ran the ball, but I think the Bengals defense, they figured out the run anyway. But I think Geno Smith's his decision making with the pass was not great at all, and he even had a pass where he nearly threw the interception. Now, any other? I guess those are the 2 thoughts where it was really just bad management, Geno Smith, bad quarterback play. Now, for you personally, because I'm playing panic mode on Geno Smith, like, what do you think? Do you think do you think it's time to hit the panic button for Geno Smith?
I don't think it's time to hit the panic button on Geno Smith because our team is still in a situation where potentially we'll make the playoffs. And as long as we keep making the playoffs, people are never going to get really upset with Pete Carroll. Because you look at most of Pete Carroll's career being with the Seahawks. I think it was like, I think maybe 2, maybe 3 seasons out of his, like, you know, he's been there for like 12, 13 seasons now. He's made the playoffs. So he makes the playoffs like 80, 90% of the time. Like, you know, like he's never won less than 7 games as a Seahawks head coach. And so I like Pete Carroll, but sometimes Pete Carroll can make decisions that don't always pan out because the players who are doing them don't always pan out. Like we've talked about this before, like the decision to pass the ball in crucial situations has plagued Pete Carroll's career.
It really has, like in Super Bowl 49 and other things. But let me say this about Geno Smith, where he last year against the Raiders and the Panthers, he had opportunities to close out those games, but it didn't happen. And that's why I think Geno Smith does lack the clutch in quarterback play. Like, here's the thing, like he has amazing weapons. He has Tyler Lockett. He has an amazing tight end trio. He has DK Metcalf. With those weapons, you have absolutely no excuses but to get it done. And yes, the offensive line's not doing too good right now, but you still have good personnel. You had men coming back. But this time, like I think this is on Geno Smith. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, but I think this one's on Geno, absolutely. And I think for the next game, and before you say what you're going to say, next week they're going to go up against Arizona, so they should hopefully win that game. But C-Films, you had your thoughts?
Yeah. So I think with the Seahawks and I think with the whole organization is that like we usually always do enough that the fans are never too disappointed. So it's like, do you always scream earlier on? Like, should we always like change things around earlier on than we really do? Because sometimes we wait longer than we should. Sometimes, like some fans don't realize like maybe we should change something up before it's too late. It's like the same thing with the city of Seattle. They do that a lot. Where like they don't see the problem because they see that they were doing enough to be efficient to like achieve at least a bare minimum that makes us look not bad to the whole rest of the country. Like even during the Russell Wilson era, like in his last like 3 seasons, I think he missed the playoff 1 time. We were making the playoffs still. We were winning most of our games. We had a winning record. And so like the one time we didn't make it, I think we were a 7-9 or something like that. But the whole thing about it was that we always do enough that we never really look like we're like actually getting like hurt so badly that the city is going to be upset horribly.
Like, I guess so.
So how do you say, oh, we should change? You know, when do you call the change should happen?
Well, I didn't think a change is necessary, but I think I will say this, regardless of how Geno Smith does, even if he led this team to a perfect record, let's say, or the division or first seed, I think regardless, they should at least be open to looking at options for a new quarterback because Geno Smith does have a team-friendly contract, but he's up there in the 30s, so I think he should be ready to at least see what's out there in the draft. Like, I'm not saying completely get rid of him. I'm just saying that just always come up with a backup plan in case, because I don't see Drew Lock being the guy for the future. I do think that there's guys that you can look at in the draft because I heard that the quarterback class is pretty decent, so definitely look at them. So we'll see. But I think we pretty much covered as much as we could. I think so let's summarize positive things that went on. Seahawks defense in the second half. Tyler Lockett with amazing catches. And now the negatives, Geno Smith and Pete Carroll's just game management in general. But those are our thoughts on the game. And I think that will be it. And thank you very much for watching this game. I really did enjoy this game regardless. And in case you haven't done so yet, hit that subscribe button as I'm trying to get to 1,000 by the end of this year. I think that's a pretty reasonable goal.
Yes,
but anyways, thank you very much for watching. And thank you, C-Films, for being part of this. And everyone, have a fantastic day. And go Hawks.
Have a wonderful day. Go Hawks, yes.